I'm a business strategy consultant in our services organization. Dell Technologies is the presenting sponsor of the PowerUp Austin series, designed to provide you with an opportunity to connect, learn, and grow. I would also like to thank our partner sponsors, City of Austin Small Business, RSM, my alma mater, Hawkins School of Business, VISA, Austin Technology Incubator, KView, and the Austin American Statesman. The PowerUp series includes 4 events centered around Q Force Tech Talks, 4 showcasing dynamic women leaders like today, and 4 on topics important to our business community. As you know, women face a number of disparities when trying to start and grow a business. At Dell Technologies, we are committed to improving the business landscape for women entrepreneurs across the globe. In fact, in 2010, Dell founded the Dell Entrepreneur Network with about 75 women. It has grown each year since and has provided a forum for global women founders and CEOs to share best practices, build on business opportunities, explore expansion, and have access to new resources. The Dell Technology Services Organization, the one I'm in, is trying to do something similar internally with our team members. We are trying to provide access to opportunities and resources for women, whether it's polishing their pitching or communication skills, or wanting to attend specific conferences. We are committed to removing the roadblocks and accelerating the increasingly powerful role women play in driving global economic growth. Before we get started, I would like to thank our host, Houston Tillotson Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, for inviting us to host today's discussion in a new space. This is great. Thank you very much. Today, the City of Austin Small Business Center is our presenting sustaining partner. In fact, I would like to welcome Joy Miller. Joy is a small business development outreach coordinator with the City of Austin. The Small Business Development Program seeks to foster the success of Austin's small businesses through services and support from classes and one-on-one business coaching. Please welcome Joy Miller.
Hey everybody. Are we in for a treat today or what? I'm so excited about this. I'm also excited that Houston Tillotson gets to show off their space. This is probably new for a lot of us. They've been open for just a few months, kind of beginning to ramp up a little bit, but we're really proud of having this space available to do things like this in. So we really thank Houston Tillotson. I also want to, before I get started, just give you a little intro. I want to say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, Leigh, Christie especially, who put our panel together, and I think this is a dynamite panel. But also, yes. Also, I want to thank Lynn Chastain, whose team comes in and makes it all the magic happen. So appreciate all the ladies that came over here today to get this set up and to help us promote it. So hey, hats off to you guys too. So today's topic is about scaling your business. And forgive the voice, I'm sorry, it must be allergies. I don't claim them, but something's going on. But today is about scaling your business. We've got several successful women business owners that know all about how to run a business and how to start scaling it and just helping it to grow. So you're going to be able to learn a lot from them. I'll mention a couple of things. How many of you knew that the City of Austin has small business resources to help you? Okay, a few hands. About half or so didn't know that. So know that your city cares enough about small businesses that they fund a small staff who can help you navigate the waters as you try to start a business or grow a business. So please put us on your favorites. It's smallbizaustin.org, that's B-I-Z. Because we love helping small businesses, and we have a lot of really talented people that work on this. Another thing I'll mention is I think you have an evaluation sheet at your seat. And at the end of the event, I'm going to beg you to please fill those out because it tells us what you liked, what we need to change, and what we need to offer next. So be sure that you fill those out. It'll just take you about a minute. This week is National Small Business Week, and this event is part of it. And I just want to say, if you haven't taken advantage of anything else, I hope this will start you wanting to. There are a couple of events that I'm going to mention to you real quickly. There's one here again on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, 2 to 3:30, and it's called Innovation and Diversity Through Entrepreneurship. And there's one tomorrow that Amy's EDU is doing over at El Mercado. So you can find that as well. I'll talk to you about it afterwards. So today you're going to get to hear Leigh Christie with the Chamber of Commerce, who is going to moderate a panel discussion with these wonderful ladies. Rene, who is the founder and CEO of Renzoe Box. Want to raise your hand or come on over? So this is Rene. We've got Tam Hawkins. She's the president and CEO of the Greater Austin Black Chamber of Commerce, a familiar face in lots of arenas. Cindy Lowe, who's the founder and CEO of Red Velvet Events. I love the name, right? Red Velvet Events. Just sounds smooth, right? And Ellen Wood, the founder and CEO of vcfo. With that, I'm going to get off the stage and welcome Leigh and the panelists to take over. Thanks, you guys.
How's it going? Good. So I am going to turn this up just a tad bit. I'm loud. I couldn't be more pleased to spend the next hour or 45 minutes with these amazing leaders. And you know, if you haven't had the pleasure yet to look into their backgrounds or what they've accomplished or kind of the buzz that's going around these powerhouses right now, I'd like to add just a little bit. Ellen Wood, as the CEO and co-founder of vcfo, she's also been the chair of the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, which is a very big deal. And she's also my current chair of Global Technology and Innovation. So she remains a key leader in our community. Tam Hawkins, one of our leaders, she's also recently been dubbed the CEO champion for diversity in our startup ecosystem. So I think I'd love to mention that. Also with Cindy Lowe, she's a best-selling author of Behind the Red Velvet Curtain, which many of you have already mentioned to me that you've read it. And with Rene, she was recently mentioned in the Austin Business Journal as being a female entrepreneur defying odds. So these are the incredible folks you're going to be hearing from. And how I'd like to do it, I'm going to put in some questions. And my hope is that you'll learn a lot hearing from them with their stories and what they've been through. So, ready? Let's kick it off. So the first question I pose to you is, you each have a different journey with your businesses. So how would each of you very quickly define what scaling means with your specific business or industry? Ellen, can you go first?
Sure. How's that? Can y'all hear me? No. Okay, this is tricky because I have to watch the water down here and not kick it over. But for me, it meant both scaling geographically and with complementary service lines. So the first thing we did back when the first tech downturn happened in Austin, how many people were here in 2001, 2, 3? Well, it was a very bad time. And I was very anxious to diversify from there and from here. And so we opened an office in Dallas. It sounds sort of counterintuitive, but it was the depths of the downturn at that time, and we thought, hey, that sounds great. We also looked for diversified service offerings, and now we offer HR services and also recruit group in addition to finance. So that's what scaling meant to me, and I've been to other cities. I had some big mistakes along the way, but I want to let some ladies talk about their experience.
Good afternoon, everyone. So for me, initially when I started, since it was me, myself, and I was all about closing a deal, hiring someone, and that's how I scaled. So it was very organic and very slow. Looking back, it's now been 16 years, I realized there was probably a time where I could have been a little bit more aggressive to get to where we are now. But now how I scale is I am very intentional with looking at how do we want to grow, what size we want to grow to. Do I want to take outside investment? Because I've been very fortunate in the 16 years that I actually didn't have to take outside investment. I didn't even have to take a loan, which is very unusual, but I think it's because of the type of work I do, and it just falls under the services. But right now, we're at a size where I have to think about, do I want to take outside investment and take us to the next level of revenue, or am I happy to stay, where we're at? So we're actually kind of in that. I feel like we're back at ground zero again, but not exactly struggling as we were 16 years ago, but definitely trying to figure out how big do we want to grow right now with our current team size.
I think we're just passing the mic. So for us, yeah. And so for us, it's considering beta one and being able to manage growth. It's very important. You can't hear me? Okay. Normally I'm Texas loud, so I apologize. But it's considering bandwidth and managing growth and being able to understand where the market is and understanding that you have to be able to manage growth, because if you scale too quickly or too fast, that is just as damaging as too little business. So really, for me, being able to understand where I'm at and what I'm doing.
Good afternoon, everybody. So for my definition of growth and scaling, it's going to depend very much on the business that you're in. So I actually started, I'm an architect, so I started in the service industry. And that had a direct relation to the types of projects that you're going after. As a service industry, you can only serve your customers based off of the employees that you have that are able to provide that service. And then I also have a real estate development company, and that company that stemmed out of the architectural services company is based on a particular project and what the ramp up of that project is required and what that needs. With Renzoe, which is the company that another sort of spin-off company that I'm working on now, it's actually a direct-to-consumer product, right? So it's something that it's very, very different scale. And it's something that requires an intensive amount of capital, but also the available market is quite huge. It's actually a global market. So for this particular company, scaling is about going after venture capital.
So some of the commonalities you all have are customers, you're diversifying, capital, timing. Let's talk about team. So how do you know when you're looking at scaling if you have the right team members in place that can take you to that next level? Talk to us about that.
So for me with team, when it comes to scaling intrinsically it involves growth, right? And with growth comes growing pains. So everybody that's on your team, that's currently on your team, is going to have to expand a bit, right, from what they're doing now. There's going to be a sort of inhale moment. That everyone's going to have to stretch. So looking at what their capabilities are in terms of stretching, and if you are expanding the different aspects of your business, whether it's, say you're moving into a new market, that might entail more of bringing on a larger sales team or a different marketing strategy. Can your existing team take that on, or are you going to have to bring in new people for that? And while at the same time being able to maintain the sort of culture and identity of the company, and those team members who are currently there, what are their capabilities in terms of being able to train and bring on new members that you're going to need in order to accommodate that growth?
So I'd like to take a pivot, and I think that's excellent information, but also I think as women entrepreneurs, we oftentimes take on more responsibility than necessary. So we often kind of try to do everything ourselves. We've been so used to climbing and fighting that we forget it is time to let go some of the reins and delegate. And so I think that's vital that we remind ourselves in our processes that we consider to hire smartly, right? And the old adage of the slow to hire, quick to fire, absolutely adhere to it.
I couldn't agree more with both what Rene and Tam have already said. Something that I address in my book, it's about the fact that when you're ready to scale, and to answer Leigh's first question, like how do you know when you're ready? When you realize that you have more things to do than you can get done in a given week, it's time to start adding on. However, don't be so hasty and just hire whoever, maybe it's your neighbor and you're like, oh, they can do a good job. Be picky. Actually interview and make sure they really have the skill sets that are good for that job. Because early on, I got really lucky. My very first full-time hire was actually the ideal person to help me grow our business to the next level. But then when I hired the second and third one, unfortunately I made some mistakes and I didn't fire them fast enough, and it actually hurt our company. So it kind of put us back a bit. And throughout our 16 years, I recognize now that if we didn't hire the right individual, unfortunately it would set us back a bit. Even though that body's there and doing a job, but actually it hurt our culture more and it took us back. So I always tell people, just ask yourself, is this the right hire? Are they really ready for the growth? Because if you're in startup phase mode, everyone has to be all hands on deck, ready to work and be ready to roll up their sleeves and do anything, even if it has to be like manning the restroom if the person doesn't show up. To, are they also ready to learn to do all other tasks? Because you might have hired them to do business development, but guess what? That day you happen to need a marketing executive and they need to put that hat on to do it. So ask yourself those constantly. And someone had asked me 2 weeks ago, would you hire someone that knew exactly what you needed or culture? And I told them I would actually rather hire someone with culture first, because I can always teach them how to use Excel or answer a phone or type an email. Whereas culture, it's ingrained in you. It's how you were born, how you were raised. So that's my personal opinion on that.
Well, I think all of you said some great things, and I'm going to tell you that it's very hard to find the right team. So I should have mentioned we're 23 years old. I've had hundreds of people now. I've had to let a few of them go. And I think the culture piece is critical, but it's very important that you are the champion. You're the one who sets the culture. You're the one who needs to live it. Everyone who comes onto your team needs to be passionate about it. Now we've gotten to the point where we actually look at hires after they've been on board for a little while. If we make a mistake in our very detailed hiring process and they're not a culture fit, we go ahead and make a move, because it's just virtually impossible to change that. So I wanted to give you maybe a tool to think about, though, because about a year and a half ago, we adopted a new tool that's been fantastic for us called EOS. It's an entrepreneurial operating system. It is, you can find out about it in a book called Traction. It's got a tool called the People Analyzer. You may think, that sounds simple. It is kind of simple. But it asks you to go through every one of your direct reports and decide if they have what it takes to do the job. Do they want to do the job, which is critically important? And for each of your cultural areas of importance, are they a fit or not? And if you're not getting pluses all the way across the board, then that tells you probably don't have the right person in that job. So that's a very objective way for you to look at your direct reports and for your direct reports to look at their direct reports. And I can't say enough good things about the impact that EOS has had on our company overall in terms of managing the business. Much, much more than just the people analyzer.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to add one thing about the right hires. Absolutely true. Just an anecdote. I've recently found I'll deem her a unicorn. She's
We all love them.
So I'm attracted to the kind of people who, you put a problem in front of them, and it's almost like they can't help but work on it. Like you just see the gears starting to work in their brain. I love people like that. Because no matter what, it's like they want to solve problems. I'm probably one of these types of people, so I'm very attracted to people like this. But I've been searching for this unicorn, I call her. She's going to come on as my CTO, my Chief Technology Officer. And she's a full stack female developer. Which I don't know if you know, those states don't exist. And she's from Texas. So she's here in town, and she's a Stanford grad, former Google, former Amazon. She really, really knows her stuff. When I say she's a unicorn, she's amazing. And I knew that I wanted someone on the team. So the Renzoe box, it's a physical object, but there's actually a significant digital component to it. The way I describe it is like a Renzoe box is the iPhone, and the pods are like apps, and then our platform for purchasing is very similar to like iTunes in terms of how you integrate and shop for things. And so that aspect of it is basically half my business. So this CTO hire is very critical for me, very important. And after it took me a year of just searching and asking around, and I triangulated upon her. quite literally, different people have kind of told me about her, etc. And then upon meeting her and our first interaction, she didn't know that I was hiring or that I was looking for someone. We just sat and had a lovely conversation, discussing, why she had ended up leaving Google to go to Amazon, and she wasn't, going through these issues and things that she had, and what was it about those particular positions and cultures, because I will never be able to pay her, not right now, I cannot pay her the salary that she was getting at Amazon. But she was looking for, she was hungry for a different type of culture and for something that she could take ownership of. So, and that's exactly, what I'm looking for. So when we're talking about the right fit and who you're looking for, for those critical hires, it's very important to, have those conversations and not be afraid of asking some of those questions.
Thank you. So I love how we hit on tools and automation and delegation. So because it's such a small room of our most intimate peers, let's get into mistakes. So a couple of you have mentioned mistakes, but then quickly moved on from them. Really quickly. So let's take it back. I mean, what mistake kind of shoots out in your mind that you think, man, I made that one and I wish, or I learned from it, right? I wouldn't do that again, but I wish I could pass it on to someone.
In terms of scaling?
Scaling your business growth, or take it further with your culture or hires?
So we were ready to create levels because for a while we were a very flat organization since we were small. And when I was hiring one of our early on managers, this was like a rock star, kind of like a unicorn planner. So what I do for a living is, or our company, we do corporate events. And so I hired someone that was really well known in the industry, did a lot of great big meetings and events, and I was thinking, this is going to be amazing. But here's what I learned. A great planner, an awesome planner does not mean you're a great manager. And this can apply to any industry. A great accountant doesn't mean they're a manager. A manager is a very different thing. A manager is about someone that wants to elevate their team and motivate them, be their cheerleader, figure out what's going on, motivate them up. And whereas a planner, it's about doing the task and developing a plan, and it's very different. And it was hard for me to accept because I was like, no, but this person's like an amazing planner, and we need to scale, and I need this person to be the manager of our growing team. And in reality, I should have had the conversation first, like, do you really want to be a manager? And at the time, she did think she wanted to be a manager. But after that first tumultuous year, she was like, maybe I don't, because this is not what I thought being a manager was supposed to be like. And so I wish I had realized that sooner, because I think I would have started the conversation very differently than how it ended. And so now when I hire for those roles, I ask myself and ask them, what is it that you think a manager does?
Earlier when we talked about being to fire, I say that from my personal experience, when I was hesitant to, can you hear me now? When I was hesitant, I made a hire, and I've always prided myself in hiring well. As my first misstep, I kept that person way longer than they needed to, way longer than our organization needed to, and it was really a downhill, it was bad. It was really bad. It was affecting everything. And so that was, and not realizing that it is okay to say I made a mistake and let it go. And the reason why I'm honing in on that in particular, because I think women entrepreneurs, we have this narrative that we won't fit into, that we can't fail when we make mistakes. We have to be twice as good, and there's no room for error. And I really want us to reclaim that narrative and stop it, because we are allowed to, no offense to any of the gentlemen that are in this audience, we are glad you're here, but men are allowed to fail all the time, and they get back up and dust themselves off. It is cultural for them. It is systemic in how they were raised, and we don't raise ourselves that way. We don't build ourselves as entrepreneurs that way. And it is okay to make a mistake. The world has not ended, or at least I don't think it has, based off of one mistake. Unless you're in a position or something, you cause a critical mistake, that's different. And even then, that happens. It's part of business, unfortunately.
Well, I'll give you one of my myriad of mistakes. So, if you want to hear it. But one of the things that I was absolutely convinced was a fantastic idea was launching this HR system. And so, back in about 2002, I hired a team and I started looking at it, and I just feel there's so much value in what HR brings to the table, and I thought, surely I can persuade my clients that that's the case. At that point, we were still only in Austin, and we ultimately expanded to 4 different cities for a total of 5, but at that point, we're just in Austin, so it makes my mistake even worse. I failed to take into account that not only were my clients important, but also my employees. And my employees really needed to understand what I was trying to do and how it was going to affect them and how it wasn't really going to take any work away from them. It was all going to be additive, additional resource. So I rolled this thing out, spent about $300,000 on the whole project. And, well, it also still didn't tailwind of the recession, I will say. That wasn't helpful. But I just didn't interview my audience like I should have. Now, that didn't change my mind about how important HR was, but I did roll it back in. I rolled it back out again several years later, and now it's extremely successful, very well received. But I learned from that your audience is not just your clients and what they need, but it's also your current employees and how they're going to feel about other service lines that you roll out that they're going to be asked to opine on and support and represent and put their stamp of approval on. So.
I have so many mistakes. Wow.
We all
yes, so many mistakes. I'm still here, amazingly enough. And they're all, you take them all, you have to take them all with a grain of salt, but you learn from them. And there's been some that have, they've really hurt. But, you grow and you move on and you survive, and it's okay, you learn from it. One that I'm thinking of right now involves a vendor that I was partnering with for Renzoe and kind of leaned pretty heavily on because this is my first foray into manufacturing in China and also bringing products into the United States and importing. And at the last minute, the 11th hour, I didn't do enough research into what this company was up to and what was going on. And there was a change in the CEO. There was some drama that happened. The CEO that I had a relationship with turned out that he had started the company with his wife, and he and his wife were getting a divorce, and so they brought someone else who took over as CEO, and that CEO was not wanting to do business with me. So anyway, long story short, it ended up affecting the timeline of manufacturing and on my side, which of course ended up costing me money. And I had to, kind of scramble to find something else. And it ended up working out, and it was, there's always a way for every question or, problem that you're looking for. There's at least 24 solutions, so that was definitely not the only route, it was just the route that I've chosen. And ultimately, it ended up because of the costs that were incurred, I did my first run of inventory that came in I didn't get to bring in as much as I wanted to. So, there are problems that happen along the way, and that just sort of, domino effect into other things. But you learn from them and you move on, and that's just how it goes. I have so many stories like that, actually.
Thank you for being open and candid. So breaking it back down and taking it back to actually scaling or growing your business, if someone's looking at growing their own business or looking to better understand where they work and how their leaders are breaking down the business, what would be a few key steps or a few key skills that are needed at the beginning step of deciding, right, what do you actually do? What do I do first? Or how do I do it?
So the first step for me when I think about scaling is looking for milestones, is identifying and setting those milestones. You're growing to something, right? You can't plan for exponential, forever, infinity growth. We don't know exactly where you're headed, but what you can do is set a broad vision. You can set a vision, and that's the big, long-term, pie-in-the-sky kind of thing. And then your strategy for scaling is this next step to get you from where you are today to that broad vision that's kind of a little hazy out there in the future. And so when you think about scaling the next step, I kind of think about it like in terms of this, this is my current bubble, right? It's this big. My bubble's this big, and I want to bring it out to this big. That's my next step to getting to this giant thing that I'm thinking about. And so when I think about moving it, just expanding that entire bubble, the milestones that I want to reach at that bubble are what? It's not about just adding more customers. Maybe it depends on your business. It could be about, I want to add more customers. I need this much more in annual ARR coming in. Or it could be, I need to bring in this much more inventory. I need to move to this market. Or, and all of those things, whatever it is for your particular business, whatever that milestone is that you need to reach, they're going to have certain implications in terms of your business growth and what you have to do internally. Whether it's hiring a new sales team, whether it's bringing on you've got bring in more inventory, which means more storage space or more manufacturing, more operations, or whatever it is. So each little component of your business is going to have to grow along with that. And so for me, when I think about those steps, it's like, make that milestone, create that next ring, and then go through each little aspect of your business and think, okay, if I'm going to get to that ring, how are each of these little things going to have to adjust and shift and change in order to accommodate that growth? And then it's very important, for me anyway, it's very important that you put a number to it. Even if you're guessing at this point, just put a number to it. I need to make 3 hires on my sales team in order to make this growth happen. How much does that cost me in Austin, Texas? Or if we're going to be an outside sales team, I'm going to go put them in New York City. How much does that person cost? Are you going to pay them commission? Are they going to be staff? Or that kind of thing. So attempt to put a number to it, and then build that pro forma and that financial model based off of that next ring of growth.
So to Renee's
well, I mean, she used the word pro forma.
Yeah.
So, I need to say that is fantastic. So I think that is very powerful. I think I was going to say no surprise. But one thing I would say, especially to the two of you who are thinking about raising money, is something I say to anybody who's thinking about raising money, is make sure that the life after raising money is the one that you want. Because it's really different. And no longer are you really in charge of your scaling, because you've committed to somebody else what you're going to do. And they're going to have a lot more ideas about it, and who you need to help you do it, and all those things. And you guys know that, but that would be something for you to think about as well. What I would say to you, well, first I would say another mistake I made is I did that. I did that back in 2007. I took outside money, I bought another company, I was blah, blah, blah. I ran into 2008, 9, 10. Ultimately, I bought my investor out because that wasn't the future that I wanted. That is very expensive, so you can avoid that. Anyway, if you're scaling your own business, you're not thinking about outside money, you do want to think about your infrastructure, because you can't keep doing everything. And I've heard you all allude to that. Delegate, hire the right people, but you really need to think about getting your processes in place, how to automate those processes so that each of your clients is getting the same customer experience from start to finish. That's just really, really critical. All of those costs need to flow into that pro forma that you talked about. So thank you for letting me jump in.
No, pro forma. I mean, to this point, I was going to say I agree with what both Ellen and Renee had to say, because I actually am a big Excel junkie, so I like to actually look at how the P&L is looking. When I say P&L, for those that don't know, it's profit and loss. So if I know, and just like you said, set a number. If I know I want to hit this revenue target, okay, and I work backwards and I'm realizing, oh wait, it's actually going to cost me X number of dollars to get there, I ask myself, what do I need to, how do I close that gap? Is it hiring the right person, or do I need to change my goal to be better aligned with my P&L at this current time, so that way I can scale at a level that I'm comfortable with? Because I agree with you, that's why I'm going through these, like, do I take outside money because then I'm reporting to someone else, or do I just do it continually like how we have been doing, which is organically, and be at the pace that that I'm comfortable with. But yeah, that's how I would start is with the P&L.
Is that a matter of like the right investment to you? If the investor is not the right investor for you,
It's funny though, everyone I've talked to when I mentioned this to them, they said the same thing what Ellen has said. So that's why I'm starting to think that majority of the people know that there's probably not an investor out there that's not going to tell you how they want their money spent. And I've been so used to 16 years of doing it my way that it may be a little bit hard to find an investor that's willing to just be that angel investor and be like, here.
You're right, though. It's not just money, it's what comes with the money.
Yeah.
So you do decide you want money, it's real important to pick the right money.
Yeah.
That is true. And I couldn't agree more with all what's been said about how do you start and to recognize the process. Definitely set goals for yourself. I think oftentimes in entrepreneurs, and I neglected to mention my other line of work, which is commercial real estate development. But in my role as a CEO for a chamber, my entrepreneurs are so busy in the business that they're not working on planning for the business. And so they're just in the day-to-day, and they forget that they've got to tweak those plans, they've got to look at it. So I love the idea of making sure that we have metrics that you can look at and you can gauge the process and how you scale forward. And so, but I couldn't agree. We've got to get the right investor. And of course, and when I invest in other companies, I want to know how my money is going to return back to me. So I have a lot of win and I have a lot of food.
So to add what y'all are talking about, I've also heard that before you scale, you really need to make sure that you're building on a foundation, right? And that you're actually ready. So how do you all know when your foundation is solid or when your culture is in place, when you know that you can take that next step? Do you see a sign? Is there a gut feeling? Are you too busy? Like, what is that key instinct that you know your foundation is ready to go to the next level?
Well, you know you were wrong if you start out and you look back and there's a mistake, and honestly, that's probably what happens with most folks. But when I talk about infrastructure, that's part of what I'm talking about, which is the importance of every time I bring a client on, I want them to have this experience. Does my team know that? If one of them left the building tomorrow, would we be okay? If I open an office in Chicago, can I replicate this there? Do I have that written down? Let me tell you, if you haven't done it, that takes a long time. You think you can do it in a week or 2 or 3 or 4, and it's a very long process. So before you really want to scale up, you want to make sure that you can support the same experience for your clients that you're delivering now. Because that's a big part of what we all are. I think everyone up here, that's very important, is how our clients feel about the value that we're delivering to them. If that's responsive to you.
Yeah, my thoughts on that are, imagine there's a complete windfall. Like, imagine the best case scenario. The phone is ringing off the hook, not that we're on our phones like making orders anymore, but imagine like the emails are coming in, all the orders are coming in, like it is a flurry of business and you're so excited you don't know what you're gonna do. Like, imagine that scenario, best case scenario. We all want that, right? But then you actually have to fulfill all those orders and deal with all of those customers, and they all have questions, and they're, they all need to be serviced, and you want them, every single one of them, to walk away with a 5-star rating of your company, right? Can you actually deliver on that? And if you can't, then you need to figure out where are the weak points and like put all those things in place. That's a huge component of scaling, and like if you get too far, you kind of want to balance it, right? If you get too far on the orders and all the sales that are coming in, but you can't really service them, you're going to have a lot of really pissed off customers, and they're not going to come back, and you might have a little bit of revenue for that quarter or that year or something, but then it's done. So you want to make sure that you have that kind of even balance.
So for me, when I saw your question, I was like, ooh, this is a tough one, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think I knew there was a sign. Honestly, it was when I made a mistake and I realized, this was the time when I should have scaled or I should have cut back. And but here's one thing I will say, and I wish someone was a little bit more that was watching out for me that told me just go for it, because I think a lot of times we have that fear, and you know what? That's normal. And there are times where I feel like I missed out on the opportunity because I had the fear holding me back. So if you're thinking about scaling, but you're like making all these excuses, just try one. Don't try to scale like 3 employees at once. No, just do one. Do 1 employee, see what happens, see if it's the right fit, see if it's helping answer that problem. If there's no orders coming in, or you're not having extra new contracts, then that's the problem you need to fix, and before you try to scale again. But I wish that I had someone there that was telling me, no, just go for it, because I think sometimes our inner voice really dominates us and tells us to not do it as fast as we should.
Thank you. wanted to move on to before we open it up to questions is, I can honestly say that I completely admire all four of you for where you are today, and I also know there's a lot of backstory, which I appreciate, right? Because we all got to go through a lot to get there. So who do each of you rely on to mentor? How do you find your mentors? Because I think sometimes that's overlooked, that we all lean on someone, right? And how does either mentoring yourself, meaning you mentor others and you gain from that, or you're being mentored? So share a little bit about how that helped you on your path.
So I like to share with people that I've had one of my mentors for over 25 years. Yes. And so people think that once you hit a certain plateau that you don't really become nurtured. And I think nothing can be further from the truth. I see a lot of ladies shaking their heads that understand. And he's completely different from me. I'm kind of okay, let's do it. And mine is more instinctual because we might find that I was not prepared for it. And then there are moments where I'm terrified. But yeah, so he calls me Tambalina. And he's like, Tambalina, pull it back a little bit. And I tease him because he's like, CFO, and I'm being younger. Stop. Let's just do this. But I need that little voice in my head. He's a man. And so I wanted to make certain that people understood that sometimes your mentors don't necessarily look like that. They may not share the same ethnic demographic. They may be older, they may be younger, and it's just finding the right match. I really believe in that. And having that, those real conversations and being able to let them hear it. That also being said, when I became a CEO, I developed this sister circle. I love working with them. They're so elite leader. I mean, I just so enjoy it because they get me in a way that my counterparts will never be able to get me. But and like I said, that's my favorite mentor happens to be a man. So it's a good spot.
I would say for me, it's more than one mentor. I've had a lot along the way, so I'm very, very grateful that people have, when they saw me struggling and they'd ask how I'm doing, of course I'm like, everything's great, but then I'm like, well, there's this one thing keeping me up at night, and people would kind of talk me through it. But I've been very fortunate. Actually, my best mentor has been my husband. At the time when I started the business, he was just my partner, as in not business partner, just dating partner. And I'm very grateful because he's been my #1 cheerleader. So at times when I'm a little less self-confident, he always asks us, why are you hesitating? He goes, you've got all the answers, and why aren't you going for it? And it's true. It's like, why do we hesitate? And I mean, especially since he's telling me go for it, I'm like, I don't know what always holds me back. So I'm grateful that he does, when he starts to see that happening in me, he kind of speaks up. He's like, go for it. You know the numbers, you know what the risk is, and you know how much you're going to lose if it doesn't work out. And that's how I look at it. I like to gamble. I don't know if that's a lot of you share here, but I look at it that way. I'm like, I'm making a bet, and this is how much I'm willing to lose. If it doesn't work out, that's the bet.
I mean, there's risk in every choice.
Yes, there is. But it has actually allowed me to sleep better. I'm like, for sure, I lost that. Like, that's it. No more.
Well, again, what I love about what you said is that you quantify how much you lose, right? So I think that's exactly what it's about, right? So I'm a generation older than you guys, and I don't think mentoring, and I've said this to other people too, is quite as big an issue for me as a very young woman. I will speak to my husband, who's been a tremendous support for me. He just listens. That's really what I need a lot of times. My dad was the CEO of University Credit Union until he retired here. He was also very much and has always been a mentor for me. So I was very lucky that way. I'm sure you guys can speak to family members too if you were speaking after me. I also have a group of women and men CEO friends. I've joined Vistage, which is a wonderful CEO group. I also joined Women's Presidents Organization, which you all might want to think about. And Elizabeth Davis is here today. She's the local chair for that group. That's a wonderful group of women who provide each other with business advice. So there's lots of places to look in addition to the formal sort of mentor role for that kind of help.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me because as I said, I started my career and still am an architect. And that's a very male-dominant field, and it's very difficult it was always very difficult to find good mentors that would really support in that particular field. It's been different since I started Renzoe. But I'll say this, that each step along the way, I always look for people that I admire. One, if there's someone out there that you truly admire, just go and start asking them questions. I mean, even if this is like a cold email, someone I don't know, but I've seen something that they're working on, and I want to know what are they doing. And I'm like that really annoying, curious person, and I don't let that stop me from just asking all the questions. So that's one way that I began mentors. And I also look for people, particularly who can answer questions that I don't know. I definitely don't know it all. There are a lot of things that I'm not the expert in whatsoever. And as a CEO of a company, you kind of have to accumulate a little bit of knowledge everywhere. You kind of become like a generalist. And so those things that I know I'm not strong at, I look for people who can answer those questions. And my research, the internet is fantastic. Use the internet. Like, search for people who are out there doing stuff. And really, like I said, look for the ones that can support those things that you just don't feel quite as comfortable in or as strong in.
Thank you. And to give people just a heads up, we're about to go to questions, but one last thing. Is there anything else that you'd love to pass on to this audience of individuals who are looking to scaling, interested in the subject, trying to understand it, trying to do it? Is there anything you'd like to pass on to them?
If you don't like looking at numbers and reports and stats, find someone that's going to be close to you that you can trust on your team to do that, because that's going to be important. Because I think it's very important to understand your books and your numbers.
I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, which is really think about what you want out of your business and what you want your role to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Do you want to still own the business? Do you want to still be involved in the business? Do you want to have sold the business? Do you want to grow it and sell it, or not sell it and pass it on to the child? It's very important to think about what you want before you start implementing those plans.
For me, it's similar to what do you want your business to look like? And just kind of charting that out. And what does it mean to you? So for me, the reason why I'm in business is because I'm a third generation entrepreneur. So it's just kind of in my nature. And while I coach entrepreneurs, it's really thinking them through like legacy. It's thinking them through, are they going to pass it on to their children? What's their exit strategy? What is their retirement? So it's really a means to it, like the why are you in business in the first place is what I recommend that you do.
My advice is definitely set the milestone or milestones for that next stage of growth. I mean, really, document it, write it down. These are the things. These are the goals that I'm going to achieve. This is the milestone, and this is why. Because it'll, my company be valued at this much, or have this much in revenue, or whatever it might be, whatever your metric is for your company, and then strategize to that. And then it's less of a scary thing, and more of you're taking the next step.
Thank you all. So with that, I would love to turn this over to you, and I hope you will take advantage of asking some questions. I can speak without a mic. Does anyone want to stand up and ask a question, or I'll keep asking? Anyone? Yeah, absolutely.
Hi. So my question is, when you were first getting started, what did you do for marketing when you had very little money to spend?
It depends on your business, but online marketing absolutely 100%. You can get so many eyeballs, more eyeballs on your product. So this is the way I imagine it is. So I'm here in this room right now, and it took me, I had to drive here, I had to bring stuff, and there's maybe, how many people are here? 100, 200? I don't know. I can't gauge audience now. Anyway, but for that amount of time, let's say my time is worth, however much per hour to be here, and I can reach X number of women for my product, right? So let's just say it cost me just to be here, just to stand and talk to you so you can have knowledge about my product, cost me $2 per person. Let's just say I'm throwing a number out there. Versus the internet, it's amazing. It costs 2 cents per eyeball to get on my product and all of a sudden learn about something. So use the power of the internet, because all of a sudden, in an hour's time, versus 100 women knowing about your product, there's like 1,000 women. That's a 10x return on your investment. incredible. We can't do that any other way, you know? So that's my, if you don't have a lot of money to spend, that's my first go-to.
I agree, and why I love it is because you can track it. So you can adjust where you need to spend your marketing dollars rather quickly. And then you can afford to experiment in other areas that may not be the traditional SEO.
Since mine's a services business, we are actually quite the opposite. Ours is all word of mouth. So I went out there and I updated my LinkedIn profile because LinkedIn was available at that time. I hustled and I went to all these networking events, passed out the business cards, followed up with people. I did the old-fashioned way, but it helped because honestly, remember, I'm a services business, and what did Rene say earlier? It's as you're closing new contracts, that's when you hire the people, or you're doing the events yourself. So I was trying to just get as much new contracts in as possible in that first couple of years to kind of get us going. And then now our marketing is much different. We actually have what we call an activation. Is exactly what we do for our clients. We figure out who we're going to target, and we intentionally focus on them. Versus whereas before I was just trying to get my name out there to everyone. But the power of relationships is very powerful. So don't forget that.
I'm going to echo that, and don't laugh. The very first thing I bought when we started the company was thank you cards. Really? And I still have a big old stack of them today, and I write them all the time. And they're not just thank you notes. I saw this article about you, or congratulations on this, or I also have a stack of about 20 different books that I think are really cool. And when I meet somebody I think would benefit, I ship them one. And I say, hey, I think you might benefit from this book. You should have already told them I'm going to send it to them. So I also have several $1 million accounts that have come into us through the internet, which astounds me that people would do that with a CFO. But they do. And there you go.
Is there because now when I say this, I mean 99% of people know what I'm talking about so that's the beauty is the brand is really strong.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But the point is, we do have a lot of the things that you're talking about, and we measure them, and they're very important. But I would agree with you. For what we do, what you do, don't ever underestimate the importance of relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotcha.
My question is to this result of hearing all your answers last time, and it has to do with the internet. And you find in business that there are, I don't know how to describe it, like new horizons, specifically because of the internet. And you have a new way of even looking for safety personnel that wouldn't just place an ad somewhere locally. If you found the right person in a very remote location, is that something you can work into the structure of the company, or do you really do like one-on-one? And actually, it's like our whole new industry is coming up way beneath the radar. We're not aware. And I think the gaming industry, and they had a millennial son who's really into Dungeons and Dragons and these online games. One of the this is online, there's a YouTube channel that he follows and watches the games with him. They started like a crowd-raising fundraising scheme. They were hoping to raise $700,000. They raised over $21,000. And we've never seen them in any other kind of media. But I just wondering if you've seen some new horizons.
Oh no, definitely. I think depending on again what your business is and what you're going after, there's tons. In fact, when people always ask us who's our number one competitor, I actually tell them it's Google. Because think about it, you don't need a medical degree to do events. And so if you already know you want flowers or let's say a mechanical bull, you just Google it and then you go and book it direct. But the thing that they don't realize is the reason why again you have an event professional is because did you ask if the venue had the right plug outlet for the mechanical bull? Because guess what? If they didn't, it will shut down all the power because it actually pulls the same power as a refrigerator. So if you don't have the right plug, you don't have that, or you didn't ask for the separate generator, it's going to actually shut down your entire event. Or the florist, did you ask them, can I keep the vases? So it's those things, it's all the things that we know to ask our vendors, and that's what we're paying for the service-wise, and that's why. So absolutely though, I mean, everything exists. There's so many new lines of business. I mean, that could be a whole nother topic. Sure.
One more, Elizabeth.
You said that you mentioned that if you're not really good at, let's see, person detail that you need to make sure you've got someone else. Are any of you guys using any tools that are allowing you with your dynamics or holding your predictive index or something either on a higher end or just to help with the relationships, understanding what people are best at?
So we use a system called Career Plug for our interview process, and actually, funny enough, someone reached out to me to beta test one of their new ones called Christie, Gritseed. So something I didn't mention earlier is my background prior to starting this company is I used to be in tech. So kind of like you going in from architect to beauty, it's so I still have that natural nature, just curiosity of how tech works. And have y'all heard, I mean, for those that might be interviewing right now, have you noticed that lately they've been asking you to do a video answer? Do you want to know why that is? Because a lot of people think it's annoying, but there's actually a reason why. So the reason why, at least the ones that they've sold us as business owners, is that it is actually, it's actually reading your facial features. And it's saying, are you happy, angry, thoughtful, perplexed, confused? It's actually analyzing how you're answering that question. So we're listening to your answer, but then on the right side it tells me this person was 98% confused during the 1 minute answer. and they're like, wow, like, how do they even know that? And because I asked them, I go, where do you keep this data? Because we've now, had about over 1,000, and this is what the data is telling us. So that way you can at least maybe to the next round kind of question, like, hey, was there anything that was bothering you that day? That kind of stuff. So that way you can dig deeper. It's not to, again, make an automatic cut, but it's just to help you be more thoughtful about your analyzing their behavior and stuff, because the culture is such a big deal. So did I answer your question, Elizabeth? Does anyone else want to jump in on what they're using? What is that tool called? Gritseed, Gritseed, but I know they're not the only ones. And it's an interview, it's a CRM for interviews, for tracking all the interview candidates.
And it sounds terrifying.
Right? But here's what's interesting is that, okay, so kind of like the lady, the earlier question is that if I'm interviewing for someone remote, I kind of do want to see what they look like, how they sound. So it does bring me a lot closer. Now, some people have argued is there an unconscious bias? Because once you don't like who you see on the other side, do you automatically eliminate them? And I think that is actually a valid point. So I was asking Christie, I gave them some feedback. I go, is there a way to do it in such a way that maybe I don't see who they are, but I just hear the answer and see how you rate them? So that way it's not unconscious bias. Because what we're trying not to do is we're trying to diversify the team for the right reasons, not unconsciously see who it is.
Thank you. Well, to respect everyone's time, I want to say and give a huge round of applause for 4 amazing leaders who Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. I just want to say just a few words. I have someone